Hello YouTube land. This is the Comic Book Ninja with a new video starting a new series which I call Doppelgänger covers. And how do I define a doppelganger cover? I would describe it as I give it a very broad definition for doppelganger covers. It could mean it's basically a character with an exact double or doppelganger, a split version of that character, like an evil twin, a character with multiple copies of themselves, a clone. It could be a clone version of that character, a robot version of that character. It can also mean a modern age version meeting their original golden age version. It can also mean a character meeting a different costume version of themselves. It could be a character meeting a giant version of themselves or a miniature version of themselves. That character could be meeting an alternate reality version of themselves or a version of themselves from a different dimension, like say Earth 1 version meeting Earth 2 version. It can also mean a character meeting a younger version of themselves, like for example Superboy meeting Superman. So like I said earlier, I give it a very loose and broad definition for doppelganger, as basically a character meeting themselves. It's just like an exact copy of themselves. But like I said, I give it a pretty loose and broad definition of that. And the first comic you see here is an Action Comics number 222, and it's precisely what I described. It's Superman meeting his doppelganger. It's a really nice, I think this is a 1950s copy of Action Comics from the 1950s, and it's a pretty cool cover. I think it's from I forgot the artist. It's a Kurt Swan. I could be wrong, but that's the first one. Next we go to the Bronze Age, Action Comics 418, and that's Superman with more Superman. Like I said, he doesn't have to meet one, he can meet more than one version of himself. And it's a pretty cool cover from Nick Cardy. There you go. Next we have Amazing Spider-Man 149. That's Spider-Man meeting his clone version of himself, and I think this is the issue that starts the infamous clone saga for Spider-Man. That's Amazing Spider-Man 149. Then we get to Americomics number 3. This is published by AC Comics, and like I said, this is a broad definition that I give for doppelganger covers. This is the Blue Beetle, the present day Blue Beetle, meeting his Golden Age version of Blue Beetle. And like I said, this is published by AC Comics. This is, I think, from 1982 or 83. It was a couple years, maybe 1 year, 1 or 2 years before DC acquired all the characters from Charleston Comics, in which Blue Beetle was among them. Charleston Comics also had characters such as The Question and Captain Atom, Nightshade, and originally Alan Moore wanted to use the Charlton characters for his Watchmen series before DC balked at that, and he had to make up his own characters. And all the characters in Watchmen were based on the Charleston characters. But this comic, Americomics, published by AC Comics in the early 1980s, before DC got the rights to them. So it's a pretty cool oddity. Next we have the 1993 issue of Aquaman, number 7. And this is Aquaman meeting a version of Aquaman with a different costume. In the 1980s, Aquaman had a costume change. It was a brief time in his history, but he had the costume to a blue light-colored costume in the 1980s. Didn't last very long, but there was an Aquaman with this blue version. So that's Aquaman versus Aquaman. From Aquaman number 7. Betty Page, Queen of the Nile, number 3, with a cover by the late great Dave Stevens, and one of Dave Stevens' favorite subjects to draw was Betty Page, and 2 Bettys are always better than one. Sadly, Dave Stevens passed away in 2008. I'm a big Dave Stevens fan, and this issue was published, this was a limited series published in the 90s from Dark Horse. Next we have Captain America 156 in the Bronze Age. Captain America and the Falcon 156. Nice copy. Little foxing on the edges, but still very nice. 20 center. Captain America 220. It's Captain America fighting a giant robot version of himself called the Ameridroid. Next we have Captain America 262. And we have another appearance by the Ameridroid, featuring a cover by Mike Zeck, a very underrated artist. He's not only a giant version of Captain America, but he's also a robot version of him. So that qualifies as a doppelganger cover for me. Next we go back in time to the Golden Age, and we have Captain Marvel Jr. number 61. It's a really nice shaped copy from the 1940s. Have a closer look. Sorry for the glare. Beautiful art as well. Captain Marvel Jr. fights himself. And we go back to the present again, and we have New 52 Catwoman, number 28. This is a Catwoman fighting a different costume version of Catwoman. Cat fight. Conan the Barbarian, number 54. Conan fighting a duplicate of himself. Nice 25 center. And we go to Daredevil, number 156. It's Daredevil fighting his original costume version of himself. Fine, it's a Gene Colan cover. Finally, we have DC Comics Presents number 87. Superman meeting Superboy. Like I said, my definition for this is they can meet their younger versions of themselves. And this is not only the younger version of himself, this is also a version of Superman from a different Earth, I guess a different dimension or different reality. And this is also the first appearance, this happens to be the first appearance of Superboy Prime, who would later become the main villain in Infinite Crisis. So that's DC Comics Presents number 87, featuring the first appearance of Superboy Prime. From that's Superman meeting Superboy from Earth Prime, Superman of Earth 1. So there you have it. This is my first video on my new series called Doppelgänger Covers. I hope you like it, and I will feature some more Doppelgänger covers in the future. This is the Comic Book Ninja signing out. Bye.